Okay, welcome back. And in this video, we'll go through the modes of writing: narrative, descriptive, expository, persuasive, and talk about the modes and how these modes connect to genres and purposes. And then in the next video following this one, we'll get into the essay writing, the survival essay, and the invention strategy, which is your first planning assignment. So let's get started with modes of writing. Okay, so now to start out to talk about writing, I want to talk about the modes or types of writing. You're probably very familiar, once again, this should just be kind of, reviewing what you already know. Maybe you have been taught explicitly or you just know it. When we talk about narrative, right, there's different modes or types of writing. In rhetoric, we usually call them modes of writing. And a mode is just like a type. We'll talk more in detail about what the real differences are here. But there's narrative, right? There's descriptive, there's expository, and there's persuasive. And so we'll get into each of these. So narrative, what is narrative? Narrative, you know what a narrative is. It's a story. It's just telling a story in time. It's trying to tell you what happened, right? What are the actions? What are the events? What happened? Like, that's a story, a narrative. Humans have been telling stories since the beginning of time. We are storytellers by nature, so narrative comes very natural. And usually it's considered, a form of writing, that's very easy. It doesn't have to be informal. It can be very formal on a story. Usually it has characters and it can have dialogue, right? So I think we know what narrative. We'll talk more about the different types of narrative, especially when it comes to essay writing. So then there's descriptive writing. Descriptive writing, just like the word implies, describes, right? It paints a picture. It's not really telling what happened, but just like gives a snapshot of at this moment by giving us all details of what it is. It could be qualities or characteristics of whatever it is that we're focused on. It can be a person, it can be a place, a thing, an event. So you can describe, right? You can do descriptive writing without really making any kind of what happened, how things change. That's narrative, how things change. It goes through time. There's a beginning, something happens, and there's an end. There's some kind of change. Descriptive, there might not be a change. It's just like, okay, this is what it is. Often we use sensory language in just good descriptive writing. Sensory language means it appeals to our senses, right? It appeals, it gives us colors, it gives us shapes, it gives us textures, sounds, smell, all of these kind of things. It gives us language that helps us experience this thing that is being described. Then there's expository writing. Now, expository writing is factual. It's usually logical, informative. It's just giving information as informative. It's the kind of writing that's in newspaper article, what happened, it's not really telling a story kind of like, oh, first this and then that. It's just, there was a fire on Main Street, at 12 a.m. and 6, firefighters responded and 2 people were injured. That's just information. More complex information would be found in your textbooks, right? In your history book, chemistry book, physics. Again, they could use descriptive writing in there, but they're just giving you fact. They're giving you information. Also essays. Essays can also be expository, just to give information about some topic, right? And then we have persuasive writing. Now, if you notice, this is kind of going up in complexity. We go from narrative to descriptive to expository or informative writing to persuasive writing. Persuasive writing presents a controversial or debatable claim. It has to be debatable. If it's not debatable, then it's just expository because it's factual. It's just like, yeah, this is the way it is. With persuasive, you have to be dealing with something that is controversial or debatable. So it's a claim, it could be a position, a judgment, it could be a theory. It's about a specific topic or issue, and it's an opinion. It is an opinion. It is not a fact. It is not centered on a fact. That would be informative or expository writing. And then in persuasive writing, we need convincing evidence. This is where evidence comes in because you have to persuade, you have to convince and argue for what you're stating, your opinion, you have to give us evidence. That could be using facts. So now you could be using informative examples. You could give anecdotes, which are examples would be like descriptive, like how something is. Anecdotes would be little narratives or explanation or reasoning of why, you are right or why your position is correct. And there's also a logic or a strategic organization involved, right? You have to be very strategic about how you try to present your argument to make your readers or your audience, agree. And that's the whole point. You want to change minds or behavior. Now, it could be something very subtle, like my theory is better than his theory, or this is really a problem that most people don't even know. It could be something very subtle. It could be something very explicit, like buy this product or vote for this person. Okay, and then these tie into the modes of writing, tie into genres, right? Certain genres tend to use more certain types of writing. So in narrative, right? Narrative we find in, any short story, right? Movies, TV shows, short stories, comics, folk tales, everyday gossip or sharing of experiences. Like I said, humans are storytelling machines. So any, stories are everywhere. When you tell gossip, when you share experiences of yourself, how did your day go? You're working in narrative. That's why it's considered a very basic form and very easy and accessible. And it's not that you can't have complex ideas in narrative. It's just that it's a form, a mode of writing that usually comes very easy to people. And descriptive can be a little more of a challenge now because this is stuff that you will find in biography, describing a person, not like a life story. That might be more narrative, but biography might be just kind of giving you the character of the person, right? Travel writing, describing this place, when you visit, what is it like? What is it like to be there? Reviews of movies, music, products, they are very descriptive, right? They're just trying to tell you what it is, right? Lab reports, if you have to write them for science class, are very descriptive, right? You have to describe what happened. Now, there might be a little narrative in terms of like what happened, when you did an experiment, but really the idea is to describe, the experiment. And laws are very descriptive because laws give you definitions of what is a crime and what is a remedy and, who is at fault. And, all these concepts have to be defined. And so definitions are very descriptive usually. And then profiles, again, kind of like a bio of a person, but it could be a place or a thing like travel. But you're just trying to, again, give a snapshot of what this thing is. That's descriptive writing. And then expository writing, like we said before. There's a news reports, just stuff that happened. The prime minister spoke, gave a press conference about blah, 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 blah. That's just news. Textbook, all your textbooks are usually expository. Research reports, also just reporting the research, the findings, and you're just kind of giving information. The point is to inform your reader about things. And then we get into persuasive. Persuasive is found in advertisement, opinion editorials, like a big policy issue or government, should they pass this law, should they not? Political speeches, vote for me, and political ads, of course. Academic essays can be very persuasive because usually you have an interpretation of a text. I'm in literary studies, so our argument would be the interpretation. What does this novel mean? Or what is important in this novel? That would be an argument I need to make. Or books that in academics that present new theories or new models for how things work or how things might be done. So persuasive writing and expository writing, like I said, might have pieces of narrative in there, descriptive. So they make use of the different types of writing. They're not really mutually exclusive. It's more like related to purpose, right? Because when you're writing an essay for our class, an essay is just a short piece of informal or formal writing focused on one topic for a specific purpose, from a specific point of view to make a point, usually to a specific audience. We left out that little part of the rhetorical triangle, right? But basically what we're saying is that when you write an essay, it has to be very focused. That's what makes it different from other types of writing. It's very focused on to make a specific point. So it all depends on your purpose, right? That's part of the rhetorical situation. What is the writer's purpose? What are you trying to do with this text, right? And that can be linked to the mode, because if your main purpose is just, I just want to tell what happened to me or what happened to my family, then you're working with narrative. If you just want to show this one moment or show how this concept exists in the world, or this phenomenon, or this quality, it can be something very abstract. You could be working with descriptive. What is heroism? What is survival? What does a disaster mean? That could be just descriptive, right? Not what happened in the disaster. What happened during Hurricane Dorian, just describing the actual storm and its movement, that would just be descriptive, right? Expository, it's just to inform, provide information. And again, that can be descriptive and a little bit narrative, but it might be more extensive in terms of informing about the specific topic to make a specific point about it, And then persuasive, it's trying to convince, right, by arguing for a particular position, claim, or judgment about an issue, right? If you're starting to get into, the best housing to build to withstand Category 5 hurricanes, then you're getting into persuasion. You might need to describe, you might need to tell a story, you might also need to bring facts, but your main purpose is to persuade. So that kind of links to the different modalities, right, of writing, depending on what your purpose is. So it all depends on what your purposes are, which kind of modality that you'll be writing in. And to get us started in our first essay, the survival essay, watch the next video, which will get you started in your first planning assignment.